Hey, how's it going guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim pits players up against a number of worthy foes. Ancient dragons bent on devouring the world. Daedric gods attempting to force mortals to do their bidding. The true first dragon book, you get the idea. The Elder Scrolls V offers a wide assortment of bad guys. However, not all of Skyrim's evildoers are quite as intimidating, talented, or competent as the fellows we just mentioned. Some of those who oppose the Dovahkiin seem to be straight out of their league, boasting no unique power and sometimes even being a bit weaker than your average Joe. So what better way to spend the day than diving into 5 of the lamest villains in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Starting off, we have Mogrul. He's an orcish loan shark living in Raven Rock. When you first arrive on Solstheim, he isn't an especially significant character, though certainly rude to the player, constantly warning you to stay out of his way and whatnot, and can even be overheard bullying the citizens of the settlement. So maybe not a friendly guy, but your interaction with him is rather limited. However, after completing the quest, Reluctant Steward, wherein you recruit one of the rock citizens, Drahff Relvi, to relocate to Tel Mithryn and become a steward to Neloth, a Telvanni master wizard, Mogrul will suddenly become very interested in you. He'll approach the player and demand you pay him 1,000 gold, apparently claiming that Drahff owed him 1,000 septims. But since he left to Tel Mithryn, won't be paying his debts back anytime soon. The way the orc sees it, since Drahff's leaving is your fault anyway, you have assumed his debt.
Drahff Relvi owes me 1,000 septims. At least he did until you set him up with that Telvanni wizard. Now he's untouchable. The way I figure it, it's your fault he can't pay me, so I guess I'm going to have to collect it from you.
From here, as you likely imagine, the Dragonborn has a few options. Simply agree to give the guy the 1,000 gold he's asking for, use intimidation to talk him down to 500, state that you just won't pay, or threaten to murder him to death. If you refuse to pay, Mogrul will resort to a particularly petty tactic. He won't turn hostile, but will start sending bandits to harass you in random encounters until the debt is serviced. Likewise, threatening Mogrul with death won't yield many results either, as he'll basically threaten you to hurt him, knowing that it'll earn you a bounty and the guards will be on his side. What Mogrul doesn't know is that, well, you have the soul of a dragon and he doesn't. So I think we all know which direction most of us are gonna go with this one. Next on our list, Riften's Ratways, being a literal sewer, are home to all sorts of strange and odd folks. But at the Ratways entrance, we can run into Drahff, a notably pathetic Nord that, if we sneak up on, can hear scheming with his partner of sorts. Take a listen.
I don't know, Drahff. They'd skin us alive if they knew we were doing this.
Why are you always acting like such a big baby? I've gotten us this far.
This far? We're living in a sewer. You said we'd have a house as big as the Blackbriars by now.
You worry about bashing people's heads in. I'll worry about the guild, okay?
Apparently, this guy's convinced someone much more combat proficient, if you will, into helping him with some ridiculous scheme, promising immense wealth, but currently delivering the exact opposite. It appears that the two intend to extort anyone unfortunate enough to come down here, and once they detect the player, both Drahff and his friend Hunan will turn hostile. You'll have to defeat them, and that'll be that. However, a look into Skyrim's files suggests that these characters were indeed at one point supposed to offer a bit more of an immersive interaction. Some cut dialogue reveals that upon being detected by Drahff, he wanted to attack, but instead, he'd demand you fork over all your gold. If you failed to do so, he would order his friend to attack.
Hey you, stop right there. Brynjolf's been sending idiots like you down here for years looking for their hideout. Funny thing is, his stupid thieves guild never counted on me and my partner blocking the way. Now empty your pockets or I'll pick the gold off your corpse.
Much like with Mogrul, there did seem to be some wiggle room here, as there are dialogue options for him allowing you to pass sounding somewhat intimidated. So it's likely you could have scared him into letting you go through anyway. So not only is this guy clearly a bad planner, but somewhat of a coward too. Though while we may know a good bit about him, he doesn't know who we are. So this interaction probably won't go his way. Coming in at number 3, Skyrim is home to a number of ruthless and powerful bandit tribes. and they oftentimes can present a considerable threat to the region's citizens, and sometimes even the player themselves. Alas, something tells me that for one bandit in Bleak Falls Barrow, that won't be the case. If the Dragonborn enters this ruin at level 18 or higher, towards the back of the crypt where you enter a small snowy cave with some natural light pouring in, if one decides to glance at the ceiling, you'll notice a rope hanging from it, and just below that rope, hanging on a ledge, will be the body of a bandit. Now, it's not actually possible to get to that ledge without the use of console commands, but if you do decide to get your cheat on and fly up to the corpse, you'll find that that bandit's name is, or was, Thomas, and in his inventory he carries a letter, which reads the following, quote, Thomas, you know the troll pit we discovered the other day that everyone's been talking about? Hit the beast with one of your fireballs from the top, climb down, and bring back his head. That should prove once and for all that you deserve to be the number 2 man. Good luck, and be careful. You know how slippery it is up there. Signed, Lorraine. This explains a lot. Thomas was rappelling down here, hoping to get the jump on a troll and return its head to his tribe in order to prove himself. And while he may very well have been skilled enough to take on the beast, he wasn't skilled enough at climbing to take on the rocks, and paid the price. And sure enough, in the pit itself, assuming you haven't killed it yet, the very troll our friend was trying to get can be found, walking about unharmed. So now I suppose the only question is, will you finish what the Marauder couldn't? For 4th spot, while we're still talking about bandits, we have yet another fearless-ish warrior. Though, unlike Thomas, this villain is, at the very least, alive. Within White River Watch, a bandit-occupied cave east of Whiterun, as you enter, you'll immediately be questioned by a man called Ulfr the Blind. Ulfr will ask if you're his nephew, and you can either say yes or no. The latter option will trigger him to turn hostile. However, if you do go along with it and say you are the nephew, the elderly bandit will simply state that the boss has been looking for you, and let you go on your merry way. The other bandits in the cave will be very angry as soon as they see you, but considering his name, it's pretty obvious Ulfr couldn't, so maybe it wasn't the best idea for his crew to appoint him their watchman. Though humorously, if you do attack him, or cause the character to turn hostile, he'll fight unhindered, like you would expect a normal bandit to do so. What's really hysterical though, is that on the table Ulfr is sitting at is a unique item, titled Ulfr's Book. And if one decides to open it up and take a look, the book will have nothing but completely blank pages. I guess Ulfr just sort of enjoys having a book nearby, even if it's not of much use to him. To be honest, this villain isn't so much as lame as he is absolutely adorable. And finally, last on our list, we're circling back to Riften, but staying out of the sewers this time. Romlyn Dreth is a Dunmer who spends his days working at the Blackbriar Meadery. He's an obviously dishonest fellow, as when spoken to, the elf admits he steals much of the Blackbriar mead he helps produce, and resells it at a lower price, offering you a bottle for 10 septims. It's worth noting that typical Blackbriar mead sells for 25, so you are getting a really good deal. But Romlyn is stealing, and you have the option to turn him into his boss and earn some extra coin. That's pretty much where your personal interaction with this character ends. I guess he's sort of a really minor antagonist, if you will. But there is a lot more to this NPC. Before bed, Romlyn can be found at the Bee and Barb Inn, where you may overhear him tell the Argonian owner, Kirava, the following seemingly fictitious tale.
Have I told you about Valen, my dear?
I love when you spin that yarn. Gets better every time you add something new.
He killed 6 Imperial guards before they dragged him into the prisons.
Was this before or after the mythic Dong attacked the Emperor and Valen single-handedly fought them off? Just shut up and drink, Romlyn.
Now, while it's apparent that Kirava just isn't buying into Romlyn's baloney, what you may not have known is that players of the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion have actually met the Valen guy in question that Romlyn's so keen on talking about. In the opening moments of Oblivion, as the hero of Kvatch awakes inside a prison cell, the first character you would meet and hear from would be a Dunmer fellow prisoner across the hall, named Romlyn Dreth. Valen was not a good guy, and would mock you relentlessly in the early moments of the game. And once you eventually broke free from your cell, later on a Dark Brotherhood contract would send a hero to take him out, and the Dark Elf wouldn't exactly accept his fate with much dignity. So, suffice to say, Romlyn's tales are definitely a bit exaggerated. But it still doesn't stop there. Yes, there's more. In Skyrim's Dawnguard DLC, during the quest, the Ethereum Wars, we learn of a Dunmer named Drahff, who stole research from a colleague to publish a book, and can meet this individual, alongside a small entourage, as a part of a random encounter, wherein he typically attempts to attack you. So it turns out, this whole Dreth family of Dark Elves is corrupt. Thankfully, you can cut a couple of leaves out of that tree, if you so desire. And on that note, we are going to wrap up. My top 5 lamest villains in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of the interesting NPCs on this list were your own favorites? And what lackluster characters do you think I should tackle next? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.